Before we do that, let me share something with you that took me 3 decades of referring before finally grasping. Throughout most of my career, when older patients sat across from me fretting about their bones, I said what every other doctor says: drink your milk, take your calcium pill, and then I would go to the next one like I had done my duty. But over the years, I witnessed that broke my heart from the shadows. I saw patients who did everything they were supposed to do, who drank their milk every day, who never missed a calcium supplement, show up in my office with a hip fracture at 78. Even so, end up hunching forward, fearful of stepping on a wet floor because one misstep might destroy the rest of their independence, and began asking myself a question doctors don't like to articulate. What if much of what we have told people about their bones was not the complete picture? What if the thing we've been banging for decades isn't necessarily the best answer? And what if there's something cheaper than that, probably sitting at a supermarket near you, that works far better? I need your presence for the next few minutes if you are over 60, and I mean really, over 70. Because what I am going to tell you is something I wish had been explained to me 20 years ago. Some of my patients might have avoided a world of hurt. Let me tell you the story of a lady called Margaret. All of it is true, other than her name, which I have changed. Margaret was 73 when she came to me. A little lady with a prideful soul that raised 4 kids mostly on her own. The woman who never whined about what was happening, who opened her doors every night. I should have known. Put on not only her best face, but so close to the conclusion that it would have been hard for anyone to accuse me of wasting her time. She had broken her wrist. It only took something simple. She had leaned on a kitchen counter, put some of her weight down, and the bone gave way. Not from a fall, from a touch. That is what severe bone loss does. It has your own bones turned on you. And Margaret looked at me with tears in her eyes, and she began, "Doctor, I cannot understand. Every day of my life I drank milk. My mother made me. I gave it to my own children. I did everything right. How could my bones be crumbling?" I had no truly good answer for her that day. I delivered the regular rehearsal I would give her. Watch out, more calcium, what you go add in as supplement. Yet the question lingered with me. It followed me home. Because she was right. She's done everything she was told to, and it hadn't been enough. That was the patient that forced me to go back and really learn it, not as I had memorized in med school, but when lives depend on getting this right. So here is what I found, and let me tell you in simple English, like I would explain it to my mother. This is the secret about milk nobody shows you on a carton. Yes, milk contains calcium. Nobody is disputing that. About 1/3 of a glass of milk provides you with quite a bit. But here is what they don't dare say. There are simple, everyday foods, cheap foods, foods that cost 1/10 of what half and half costs, who do not go rancid 3 days after you purchase it, that have multiple times more calcium, gram per gram, than the milk you've been dutifully chugging all your life. I am talking about the difference that is 5, 6 times calcium, not a little more, many times more. And the food that I want to share with you today, the one I now tell my own patients to eat, the one that sits in my own pantry, is sesame seeds. I know. I can see your face. I imagine you were looking for something dramatic, something pricey, something with an exotic foreign name. So instead, I tell you about some tiny little seed that sat on a shelf in your grocery store all your life, ignored, costing nearly nothing. Now let me explain why so much hinges on that tiny seed, because once you understand it, you'll never see your bones the same way again. Milky Way. For every gram of milk, sesame seeds typically deliver about 6 times as much calcium. Let that sit for a moment. 6 times. You need very few sesame seeds, even better a tablespoon of sesame paste, called tahini, to receive a good dose of calcium into your body, with the added benefit of magnesium, that you actually need to use this calcium effectively. And as for the last bit, that is really what nobody discusses. It's the lesson I learned through her patients like Margaret. You cannot just cherry on a calcium. First, your body must be able to absorb it. Second, you need to have transportation of it into your bones. And third, it needs to stay there. But calcium, delivered without all its buddies, is like sending bricks to the construction site, but no workers and no cement. The bricks just pile up. Sometimes they collect in the wrong places, your arteries, your kidneys, instead of going into your bones, where it is needed most. We told you a little while back, sesame seeds might just be your calcium secret weapon. They bring magnesium. They are bringing healthy fats that aid your body in utilizing it. They are real food as nature intended it to be, and your body identifies what it is and knows what to do with it. That's the difference between a food that is whole or than any pill. This is why I now tell my patients, forget milk and forget a calcium tablet. Real food that supports bone health replenishes real bones. Now, I am going to tell you something that has taken me years to get my head round because I believe this is the key for so many people. Your body was a powerhouse of construction when you were young. Constantly, it had been tearing down old bone and laying down new bone, and always a tiny but appreciable fraction more than it was tearing down. That's how children grow. This is how you became as tall as you can be and fit as you can be. The scaffolds have never halted their rise. But after our middle years or so, the balance turns. The body continues to break down old bone. That process never slows down, but it begins to rebuild less. And if you don't supply it with the appropriate building materials, every year this gulf between what is destroyed and what is constructed becomes wider. That slow, silent, decades-long gap is what a brittle hip, a caving spine, and a wrist that fractures under the weight of your own hand resting on a counter become. Now, what nobody ever actually told me in medical school, and which I learned from watching patients, is this. A glass of milk gives the body an instant spike of calcium, but doesn't really do anything to solve the problem at its roots. The answer, however, is much more than just not enough calcium in the mouth. You have not enough of the right materials, in the right quantities, through the right channels consistently over time for the body to use and take up into bone. And that is an entire other issue, with a completely different answer. And this is the trap where Margaret was snared, kept her part of the bargain so she drank her milk like baby. Yet her body required more than merely a fast dunk. It required a continuous round-the-clock supply of calcium along with magnesium, along with vitamin D from sunlight, and with the gentle stimulus of movement telling the bone, hey, you are still appreciated. Stay strong. She was doing one ingredient with her body, but wondered why this whole recipe wasn't working. I see something shift in my patient's eyes when I frame it this way. Why is this suddenly not their fault anymore? They weren't lazy. There wasn't a logic error on their part through negligence. They were never just given the full how to make something. Once you have the entire recipe, then you can prepare the dish. So let me be really honest with you, because I'm a doctor and not a salesman. The truth should always matter, even if it's less sexy. I'm not telling you that a spoon of sesame seed would reset broken bone overnight. I am not telling you to ditch your medicine prescribed by your own doctor. Please don't do that. If you take medicine for your bones, do not stop. Always check with your doctor before stopping or changing any of your medications. You should also speak to your doctor about any large addition of anything new, as what is fine for one body can be problematic to others, especially in the case of kidney problems. This is what I tell you. Your bones are the beginning of a book. So even at 70, no, even at 80, your body is still demolishing old bone and constructing new bone. You are literally remaking your own skeleton every single day of your life. The only question, whether you leave your body with the building materials to build, otherwise you're leaving it de facto, without anything. And for my patients, the struggle to achieve their goals was never the issue. And the issue was, they were giving their body all the wrong stuff, or next to none of the right stuff, and doing it faithfully, while believing they did everything right, just like Margaret. Now let me tell you about Margaret, because this is where things changed for the way I practice medicine. Sitting down with her after that day, Rather than the familiar speech to a kid much greater than 3 years of age, I conversed with her like we were human beings. I shared with her what I had learned. I educated her on sesame seeds, about getting calcium from real food, magnesium, and how it was more important for what you ingested to be absorbed. I advised her, when she got a chance, to get a bit of sun on herself because the body uses vitamin D to utilize calcium. That's another partner that the pills frequently overlook. However, I told her softly that she had to get up and move. That her bones, like all the other tissues of the body, will grow stronger if you ask them to do something, and weaker if you let them lie around indefinitely. At first, she did not believe me. Why would she? Her entire life she had been told otherwise. Well, Margaret was a prickly bit of cookie in the most glorious sense, and she resolved to give it a shot. She started small, replacing butter with a spoonful of tahini over her morning toast, sesame seeds on her vegetables at dinner, a stroll to the end of her street and back, then a bit further each week. 10 minutes at most of morning sun on her arms in fair weather. 6 months later, I followed up with her. One appointment, and then there was another. And let me tell you, the woman who left my office was not the same as the woman who walked out of it. She walked taller. She moved with confidence. At first, she said she was no longer afraid of her own kitchen floor. "I'll never forget this," she said. "Doctor, for the first time in years, I trust my body again." 74 years old, and she had her life again. Not from an expensive treatment, starting with a few bucks of seeds, some sunshine, and faith that it wasn't too late. Now, I can hear some of you loud and clear. That's one woman. Maybe she was lucky. Maybe it would have happened anyway. Having that same doubt myself, I realize where you're coming from. I'm a man of science. Well, let me tell you about another patient. The story of a person that was a different person. His name was Walter, 81 years old, a retired truck driver with big hands and a gruff voice, the sort of man who had spent his entire life steadfastly refusing to see a doctor until he was dragged in by his wife. And by the time he reached me, he had shrunk nearly 3 inches since his prime. He had the forward hunch in his upper back I see so commonly, that quirk that arises from the tiny bones of the spine slowly collapsing, one after another, silently enough to be unaware until one's whole shape has changed. Walter had no regard for seeds. His language was colorful, and certainly not for repeating here. Now, to be fair, he didn't come to me thinking that some old man could help him, and certainly not a strange Indian guy either. He came because his back was always hurting and his wife was worried. When I started talking fact food walking sunlight, it was like you were wasting his time. But that's when I am saying something that caught his attention. I said this: "Walter, every hit to your height, all that rounding out you do, that's bone that bowed out because nobody was making it be brave. Nobody told you this. Your body is still in the process of laying down new bone right now, today as both of us are sitting here. It never stopped. Well, you have been feeding it leftovers and never requesting any work from it." He went quiet. Then this gentleman said something I never saw coming. He said, "Nobody ever told me they were still trying. I figured it was just done." That has stuck with me for a few years now. I figured it was just done. That, not any shortcoming of calcium, is the true disease I see in older humans. Also the belief that the body is over. That not so easy giving in where a person stops trying and starts to stop moving and feeding themselves well. And that surrender does far more harm than any one nutrient ever could. Walter started slow, like Margaret. He grumbled the whole time. Yet he was obstinate, and once a man resolved to do a thing, it reeked of following through. Sesame seeds on everything. The sardines, which he honestly enjoyed from his trucking days. A morning walk that started as short. But here's what happened to Walter. A year later, his back pain, that chronic ache he'd given up hope on managing now that he was an old man, had improved so much he had started woodworking again in his garage. He never grew back the lost inches. I'll tell you the truth, he didn't. But he stopped losing more. He grew steadier. And the relentless agony that had robbed him of so many days eased enough to allow him to life his own life once more. The last time Walter saw me, he shook my hand with his big grip and said, "Doc, I'm not going to say you were right, because I don't do that to anybody." And then he winked. Flowers, in his world, was Walter's way of saying thank you, and I understood it perfectly. I mentioned Margaret, who is nothing like her husband. She is a careful, proud woman. Walter is a stubborn, gruff man, because I want you to see that this isn't about personality or good fortune. It's about the body. And every human body, I don't care who it is in this world living inside, abides by the same simple law. Feed well and work it. Give it the parts it needs to make. It will grow. That rule is ageless. It was indifferent to whether you believe or not. It just works. And now I want to turn directly toward you, the one watching this. And I'm guessing you're feeling what I've seen on so many of my patients' faces. You may wonder how your body has just let you down, as if each year strips a little more away and all you can do is watch it happen as you try to stay out of its path. You may be avoiding activities that you love, most notably gardening, dancing, and attending to your grandchildren because of fear, afraid of falling, afraid of breaking. The fear that this step taken incorrectly will be the one standing between you and a life where you are your own boss, never to return. Before I have sat in front of hundreds of people who feel precisely that way, and I want to say what I said to each one of them. Fear is true, but not the full truth. Your body is not done with you yet. Your body is always trying, day in and day out, to heal itself. It is still reporting to duty. The question is, will you be there to do it? And showing up does not have to make a scene. It's not a marathon. It's not an expensive treatment. You train on data until October 2023. It is a spoon of seeds in the morning, a quick walk that stretches out a little. It's a few minutes of sun. It is daily, simple, consistent faithfulness to a body that has held you up your whole life and is just meekly requesting some help for once. Let me give you a practical, because I don't want you to come here and leave with no clue how to start, right? This is what I say to my own patients, and this is what I practice in my own home. Grab a spoonful of tahini, sesame paste, to spread on your toast in the morning instead of butter or jam. It's nutty tasting, it's filling, and it's sneakily giving you more calcium than a glass of milk, along with the magnesium your body requires in order to utilize it. Keep a small bowl of sesame seeds on your table to sprinkle them over everything. Veggies, salad, soup, rice. They are inexpensive and last for months. 1 tablespoon here, 1 tablespoon there, and you've given your bones more than most Americans get in a whole carton of milk. And don't stop there. Eat the other silent heroes as well. Sardines with the soft bones intact. Those little bones are good calcium and your body loves it. Dark leafy greens, almonds, beans, foods that made strong old people for thousands of years when nobody sold them a supplement. Then, provide your body with the partners you need. Get some sunlight when you can, for the vitamin D. And get your body moving. Even a 5-minute walk each day tells your bones that they are still needed, and bones that feel needed grow stronger. This is real. This is how the body works. None of this is expensive. None of this is complicated. And all of it's within your reach starting tomorrow morning. Oh, and just to make it even simpler for you, because we all know, and I certainly do, that when people leave my office with a big list, they do nothing. But likewise, if they leave with one small thing, then guess what? So I will give you the one tiny morsel, and everything else is gravy. Which is this, the one small thing. When you get up tomorrow morning, put sesame on your plate. That's it. Tahini on your toast is also ready with a tablespoon of sesame seeds on the breakfast. If you take nothing else from this whole talk, do that one thing and do it every single day until it is as habitual as brushing your teeth. That will change your entire life in one night. Just win the morning. It begins with the morning. Next, once that habit is solid, maybe you have this on week 2 or around there, add on the next small thing. That could be a walk shortly after one among your meals. Not far. At first, you just need to go to the corner and back. Your bones must feel your weight passing through them. That is the signal to them to be strong. If a bone is never asked to do anything, it thinks it's not needed, and the body, ever the pragmatist, will cease to invest in it. Then, implement a second little change. Get 10 minutes of direct sunlight on your skin every day. Find a spot by a window or go outside when the sun is out and let it happen. Why do you think that sunlight helps your body create vitamin D? Because if you're low on vitamin D, it doesn't matter how much calcium you put inside of yourself. It'll all just flow right through. The sun is free. The work has been present the entirety of your life. Use it, and then gradually reintroduce those other foods I listed. The sardines with their soft bones that are plentiful in calcium. The dark leafy greens, nuts such as almonds. Note: whole nuts and deli meats do require a certain amount of care in introducing. You don't have to remodel your kitchen. Simply continue to move your plate ever so slightly in the right direction, one positive choice at a time. This gentle, patient approach is one I have seen succeed where dramatic overhauls always fail. Those who attempt to change everything in a week are the first to fail. Those who own their mornings and then add one simple thing, then another. Those people are the ones I notice are a yard taller a year later. The slow and the faithful always defeat the fast and the furious. Frost will beat thaw, bones build slowly. You are playing a long game, but it is a game you can win. I think I need a final return to Margaret because there is another element of her story that I haven't yet shared. Approximately 1 year after bringing her on board, she came in for a checkup and she handed me something. Sesame cookies, small jar of homemade. She had begun baking again, which she had stopped as standing in the kitchen had become too much of a fear, too exhausting. And here she was, again baking for her grandchildren, baking for her doctor. So she flopped down and she said something that has stayed with me since. I said, "You know, doctor, the seeds helped my bones," she told me. What really healed me was someone telling me it wasn't over. From a certain age, everybody knew I was gone. For the first time in years, someone saw me and said, "You can still get stronger." But I think I just needed someone to believe that. I shared that story because I want to be that person for you, right now. I want to be the voice who says, straight and from 30 years of seeing actual humans go against what they were told, it is not over. You can still get stronger. Your bones can still rebuild. Your 70s and 80s are not a slow, hobbling retreat into fear. They can be years when you find yourself being firm and resolute, walking with feet that feel like yours once more. But you have to start. But the first step is always in the little things, faithfully done every day, starting with what you put on your plate tomorrow morning. And so, I will leave you with this. Forget that milk alone will fix your bones. Only, this training was never the complete picture, and for so much of you, it was never sufficient. The answer is much less grandiose, much less expensive, much more powerful. Real food rich in calcium, and all its cofactors consumed daily with some movement and sunlight. Start tomorrow. 1 spoon tahini, or 1 handful sesame seeds. Put in the sardines, the greens, finally the almonds. Take a short walk. Get a few minutes of sun. And for the love of God, ask your own physician, especially if you are on medication or have kidney issues, because your doc knows your body and can guide you through safely. I'm going to shed light, but your own physician walks the path with you. I have watched all my life as people are told they are too old, too far gone, too late. And for the last part of my career, I've watched that be proved wrong over and over again in people just like you. So don't even think it is late. Your body is still building. Go give it something to work with. Updated, October 23rd, 2023. Take care of yourself. Start in the morning, and keep me posted afterwards. I read your comments, and nothing makes a happier than hearing someone out there decided it wasn't over yet. I'll see you at the next one. If this helped you, leave a comment and tell me your age, and tell me one small thing you're going to start tomorrow morning. You are never too old to get stronger. Let's prove it together.